There's a lot of talk about gender and transgender issues, but not much understanding.
So the other day I came across this ad and I thought, wonderful, this ought to get into what I wanted to talk about when I mentioned transgender issues at the end of my last video. So let's get right into it.
Unless you're enrolled in the most progressive high school health class
Was that a Freudian slip? Because it really did sound like you said regressive.
ever, you're probably not getting much good information. So on today,
Well, we are a sexually dimorphic species, and keeping that in mind, let's look at a few of what you have put up. First thing I see is tough and soft. Well, you see, that tends to be true. Men tend to be more tough than females. I don't see any problem there. I don't know why you put that, the bullshit label on that. Let's see what else there is. Pink and blue, that has really nothing to do with anything. It actually used to be the other way around. I don't feel like getting into the history of how feminism turned the female color into pink. It used to be blue, and men used to be red. Trucks versus dolls. Now, I remember a few years ago watching a video where they did an experiment on monkeys to see how they would react to certain toys. And lo and behold, the male monkeys were more attracted to male toys, and females were attracted to female toys. They think this has something to do with females being more caring, and they want to help things that really can't do much for themselves, and men want to use tools, something to that extent. And attracted to men and attracted to women. Yeah, that has nothing to do with this debate. Transgenderism is not gay rights and all that nonsense. So what you've put up as bullshit is bullshit, I guess. Hopefully I worded that right.
today's Daily Dose, we'll be talking about gender identity.
Alright, Dr. Nicolino, we can talk about gender. Usually a good starting place is to define it, and since you seem to be in generally SJW circles, I know you really like the definition of any word that you use. So I just Googled define gender, and here's what came up. Gender, noun, 1. The state of being male or female, typically used in reference to social and cultural differences rather than biological ones. Traditional concepts of gender. Synonyms, sex. 2 is in grammar, talking about how things are classed. For example, la and el in Spanish. So let's see where you go with this.
People probably think gender is determined at birth, or even before that.
Only if you look at things deterministically, but I don't know, if you want to get into the little bit of quantum mechanics and probabilistic nature of it, then maybe we could have a thorough argument, but I don't think that's what you're going to be going for.
With an ultrasound, but that's not really accurate. Genitals are determined here, but not gender. Gender is more than genitals. Science is just beginning to understand the complex relationship between development in the womb.
Well, I wasn't able to find any history on the science of the womb, but I think it's relatively safe to say that our basic understanding of the womb has been well established for quite some time. Now, I'm sure that there is a lot of nitty-gritty stuff, like how the mother talking affects the child in the womb, but I don't think that's what you mean when you say we're beginning to understand development in the womb.
The chemicals and hormones in our body.
No, the chemicals and hormones are pretty well understood. That's why we're able to have lots and lots of drugs all over the market that can do good or bad for you. So, no.
the kind of environment we're born into.
Once again, the basics of that are pretty well set. So we're not beginning to understand that, well, we already have a decent understanding of it. I feel like I'm repeating myself.
And of course, whatever happens to be between our legs. Our culture is built to...
That's been understood for millennia. I'm pretty sure that the apes, ancestral apes, whatever, way back when understood that. I'm not sure if that's even remotely contested. But whatever.
handle two types of people. Those whose development, body chemistry, environment, and bodies all line up as male.
You say while showing a picture of a person who is certainly not male.
And those whose development, body chemistry, environment, and bodies all line up as female.
You say while showing a person who would be much more likely to be female than the other one would be to male. But I don't know what you mean when you say they line up to be female. Since you're a doctor and you're trying to explain this to us, please explain this to us.
Male, otherwise known as cisgender people. When these people are born, there's a ready-to-wear gender role waiting for them, complete with its own special set of rules and expectations, a lot of which are BS, but that's a different video. But what about people who have a different alignment of development, body chemistry, and physicality?
They're what we in the business call freaks.
The person who's told by everyone around them they should be feeling, acting, and looking one way when they know, with the same certainty they know the location of their hands and feet, that assigned identity is not who they are.
Oh, hey, look, it's that guy who I said definitely wasn't a guy. Turns out he's not a guy. Who would have thought?
Respectful terms for people with this different alignment are transgender, trans, and genderqueer, among others. Our awareness of this is...
Alright, quick personal story. So I was at my college, and there is an Ask a Blank event, where you can ask a whatever minority that nobody has apparently met before. And one of the things there was a genderqueer person. Now, I did not think it was the same thing as a transgender. So when I asked them what it was, this person who identified as genderqueer said that we experience characteristics of being both male and female, which is very strange. And I asked them for a specific example. They couldn't come up with one. I kept pressing for it for probably 10 minutes. They couldn't come up with a single one. So, is there any way to tell if a person is actually genderqueer, or if they're just making it up to be some kind of special snowflake?
It's nothing new. Ask any trans person. Other cultures throughout history have recognized the uniqueness and validity of a third gender. The Native Americans refer to trans people as two-spirit.
So I just read a brief article from the Dancing to Eagle Society, and I found that they had two tests published on the site for how to tell if an Indian was two-spirited, both of which the person had to be born male. So I'm not sure if little girls can be transgender in Indian society, just based off the brief article that I read. The first test was if a guy went into a fire and he grabbed a basketry set rather than a bow, then he was two-spirited. And the other one was if he was let into the middle of a circle and stayed in the middle of the circle, then he was two-spirited. So obviously, these are highly scientific tests that should be looked into more. They have certainly nothing to do with environmental factors, as I'm sure you would be more than happy to point out in the earlier part of your video. Carry on.
More than two genders are recognized by Polynesian and Indian cultures.
When I looked this up, I was only able to find something called the fine. I'll have it printed on the screen. And it's another gender where only males can transition into this. So I guess you are wanting to limit the ability of females to transition. Somehow, even when you're trying to be this progressive, you still manage to be regressive. God damn you people.
Even the ancient code of Hammurabi made some provisions for.
So I found the stuff on the Code of Hammurabi, which said that a male woman or a cell zikram is a separate sort of thing. So it's another male transitioning into a female. Couldn't find anything for the opposite direction, and I found that they had greater inheritance rights than regular women, which means that Hammurabi is probably not as progressive as you would want him to be.
Trans people. And in April of 2015, India recognized the existence of a third gender, citing it as a.
So if a country makes a law about it, that means it's at least somewhat accurate. So what if I were to tell you that being gay is just as bad as murder? Now, since you're probably a Westerner, you would think that's completely absurd. But I can back it up because some countries have made it illegal to be gay and give it the death sentence. So, obviously it's immoral to be gay. And none of you should be gay.
Necessary human rights issue to do so. And when you think about all the different possible combinations of identity, sexual orientation, behavior, and self-knowledge, even three genders isn't enough.
I can't even conceive of a way in which having all of these genders is somehow a good thing. Now, if someone were to point out how it is, I'd be more than happy to listen. But it doesn't seem possible at the moment. So, how is making the world a more confusing place so that certain people can describe exactly what they are in whatever 20-syllable word that they want to choose? How would that make the world a better place? Yeah, I suppose is a good question.
Encompass all the possibilities of human identity.
You don't need to highlight your entire identity with a word. How about your personality, who you are, just your name? Shouldn't that be enough? I can't imagine why it wouldn't be enough. So, anyone listening, please help me out.
Meanwhile, back here in the Puritan-founded USA, while our legal system finally acknowledged it was okay for gay people to marry, a lot of us are still getting our heads around this whole transgender.
Alright, so I'm going to take that as an admission that you know that these are two completely different debates. Thank you.
Thing. It's hard enough to live up to gender expectations for cisgender people, let alone when how others perceive you doesn't match who you are.
Alright, here's a piece of life advice. When people don't like who you are, fuck them. Just do what the hell you want without their permission. So long as you're not doing anything to them, no one's gonna give a fuck. And you can do whatever you want. You want to take a sewing class? Sign up for a sewing class. You wanna, I don't know, take cooking lessons? Take cooking lessons. There's plenty for free on the internet. You wanna go get a gun? Talk to Speaking Minds about that one. I don't know how to get you there. He'll hook you up.
Trans people are often forced to accept others' perceptions as their reality.
examples. I really want examples. I want you to hand me a legal document giving me examples of these, please, because I don't believe you.
even when every cell in their body is screaming out a different truth to them.
The fuck is a different truth? That's a very weird way of wording it. There's something off about it. I'm not sure what, but it's setting off alarm bells.
Being transgender is a natural occurring phenomenon of the human condition, just like hair, eye, or skin color.
Shit analogy. Even if I were to take into account that it was naturally occurring like homosexuality, it would not be like hair, because everyone has hair, but not everyone is transgender. Everyone has eyes, but not everyone is transgender. Everyone has skin color, even if they're not transgender. Picking up what I am putting down?
Even if some people have trouble understanding what it's like to be a transgender person, it should be obvious to anyone that denying the dignity or humanity of transgender people is equally as unjust and repugnant as any other kind of bigotry.
Alright, racism. I get that. No one can control that. Okay. Sexism. I get that too. Ageism. That's a little bit different, but yeah, I understand it. To a degree. You can choose religious affiliation, so it's not discrimination at all. If you choose to have a shit idea, then I get to criticize it. I don't see how this is even remotely similar to racism, sexism, or to a lesser degree ageism. And I'm guessing you're getting at transphobia. Well, you see, I'm of the camp that does not even know if trans people are really trans and if they're not mentally ill. Because I don't mean to be repugnant in any way when I say this. They do have some similar traits to mental illness, such as not understanding reality, I guess. Fuck, I'm definitely a transphobe. And I know that they have a very high suicide rate, which is similar to that of certain mental illnesses. So I think, and when you have things like children getting indoctrinated into this nonsense, it is a very real concern and should not just be dismissed as bigotry. So if anyone would be willing to talk, I'd be more than happy.
Things are changing. We're lucky enough to be living in a time when an open heart and mind could be all it takes to save some people and make heroes of others.
You seem to be asserting that you're in the right. I'm asking for proof that you're in the right. So if anyone has anything, please let me know.
How open is your heart and mind? Let's talk in the comments below, and of course, like and subscribe.
So that was Dr. Venus Nicolino's presentation on transgender issues that I saw in an advertisement. Looking at the original source, there was no sources for anything. So this is all asserting. So by leaving even one source down below, I will have more credentials than she has, and I haven't even looked to see if her credentials are real. So if you feel like answering anything that I've asked during this, please do. I'd be more than happy to talk. I hope I wasn't too bigoted in any way. And hopefully we can start a nice conversation. Have a nice day.